Welcome back. Well, actually, we're going to get Engineer Kola Balogun join us. He's the chairman of the Electricity Meters Manufacturing Company. So that call is supposed to be right about now, but while that is being sorted, we're back here. Dr. Sam Amadi joins us. Thank you for coming on this morning. Thank you. Before we, I guess we'll go back to this later, but let me start off with the directive that NERC spoke about, wherein they had mandated, or they had said that they were going to revoke licenses of firms that are non-performing. And many wonder, why is that coming now? Because they had these licenses a long time ago. So what happened?
Well, when they had these licenses, the market support institutions were not there. We didn't have, first, up until 2012, we didn't have a cost-reflective tariff, number one. Two, we didn't have credible off-taker, the bulk trader, which came in late 2011 and capitalized actually in 2013. And ever since, we've written to them, and they're now giving us reports. So let's backstep and say, why didn't they perform? Many of them said they wouldn't perform because power is basically 70-30%, 70 borrowing, for 40%, 30% equity. And before you go and transact, go to the bank and raise money for investment in project, they'll ask, what's the tariff? Who's the off-taker? So until we privatize and new owners came in, that means the discos. Even now, they're still not that credible. That's why they still have the bulk trader. So some of these non-performing licensees had good excuse up until 2013. There was no credible off-taker, so there's nobody, the banks are not willing to sign the financial closure, and they can move to construction. That is why within this period, last year, we have Azura, the first project finance power plant, fully signed up because they now have a good tariff at least, and they have a great off-taker. So we've written them, we say, okay, you have your milestones to meet. So right now, we can now give you rigorous evaluation. There was no point evaluating a licensee who didn't have a tariff, who didn't have an off-taker. They then disclosed owned by government. We are totally owing millions of dollars to gas suppliers, power suppliers. So basically, it was a no-win because government had not created the institutions that support the market. Now they are here. So we now want to see you make real progress. So it's not like we just started now. It has been a process, a discussion, and we're helping them access to gas supply. Now it's easier for them to sign gas supply agreements because of what we've done in deregulating and improving gas to power and the contracting framework. So
are you saying that that statement was merely a threat? That more like, if you do not perform now that you have these conditions or you have these milestones for yourselves, we will take away your license? Not that NERC is about to take away the license of those who have not performed from 2013 to date.
NERC is about to do that. But, license, giving license is quasi-judicial. That means you have to establish right. Taking it back is also a process. What I'm saying is that right now we have started the evaluation that leads to cancelling license. Because one, we will now match you with our milestone. This is the milestones you've not performed.
Because I'm listening to your submission. You said that as at 2013, by that time, quite a number of them already had their milestones set for themselves because some of the conditions which you're waiting for were then available. Mm-hmm. So you're judging them from between 2013 to 2015?
The way I'm judging them is what I'm saying that, for example, you have a license that says between now this time you will acquire the land, you will sign lease, you will get supply of gas.
So the licenses also came with conditions?
Yeah, absolutely. The license tells you a milestone. This is what KPI, this is a key performance indicator. We want to finish construction in 3 years, 4 years. This is how we go about it. We'll do our financial closure in 9 months, 1 year. What we are saying, if you have a license, some of them totally are no brainer. They're going to be cancelled because essentially they've done just nothing. Even with the bulk trader in and the price cost reflective, they still have not taken any step. It's not a matter of fulfilling righteousness, going through a process, because it has to be due process, and now you write to them and say, justify to us what we've done the license. Those ones are gone because the license has just no value. They're not making any serious headway. But are those who whose movement have been truncated between 2010 or 2012 and 2013, and now they have resumed quick work to financial closure and then delivery. Those people will escape that process. So what we've done now is that we have signaled now that we are going to cancel those licenses. In the past, we didn't bother because it had no value. You take a license, we're not giving you subsidy, we're not paying you no payment, so you had the license on the box. But now we want to clear that deck. We say, okay, if you have 120 licenses, how many of these licenses can we now bank on to come to the grid in the next 4 or 5 years? Those that can never come, we cancel their license and then move on, because there are new people who want to take license, and now they are more credible. So clearly, some of those licenses were taken before we even came on board. Some were deemed license when this process started. Nigerians went more like an auction. Everybody wanted to have a license. But this is a new thing opening up for us, like telecom. So people who didn't even have access to the credit or the equity to participate in this business got license as kind of a trump card in case something opens up, in case government begins to provide financing to those who have license. We can bargain with this. But that's not happening, because this is now a market that's private sector market. If you don't have access to get your equity or borrow money from financiers or get investors to support your project, you're not going to move forward. So at this stage, we need to remove from our list those dead licenses and focus on those who we have helped through these institutions to now have some hope of delivering power.
The question Chamberlain asked you is, why now?
I'm saying now because for 2 reasons. First, we have fulfilled our own conditions. This market can now guarantee you movement towards financial closure and construction. 2, we now come to a point where we now say, fine, we've just had a new bulk procurement guideline on how do we now procure power in the future. We say it's true competitive bidding. So we now come to a point where we have to say, what licenses are we going to grandfather? That means what licenses are we going to still keep, and which one will now be, the future will be based on public procurement, based on competitive pricing. So what we really have that we can say, this is the license we're expecting power to come from.
In other words, there are no political undertones.
There couldn't be, how can it be political? Because it's totally license has no political basis. Just one, you're not attracting income, there's no waiver, there is no tax holiday because you have a license, and you're not getting any money from the government. So really, in the past, it was just, we didn't want to focus on that because that's not priority. But now, they want to have a sense of what power will come to the grid in the next 4 or 5 years. We want to cancel those licenses.
These licenses are for the distribution companies, right?
No, for generation.
For generation plants. Does the government still have own a percentage of these plants?
The government has percentage of the DSN generation. These are IPPs, independent power plants, that people like you and I apply to NEC that want to set up a power plant in Ogun State, in Ijora, elsewhere, and now for the past 5, 7 years, 8 years, you've just done nothing. You've not cleared the site, you've not signed any contract with the bank. Are
you implying that due process wasn't followed in terms of like checking the capacity and the sustainability of these projects before the licenses were given?
Absolutely. In those days, when most of these licenses were given between 2006 to 2008, those are not performing. Why? In that time, we didn't have, like I mentioned before, due diligence was, okay, fine, you want to build a power plant, this is a site, it's over a site. Gas supply, there were less commitment on gas because we're a gas country, we expected gas. 2, you didn't have a tariff, so you assume, you say, I'm going to raise money from Goldman Sachs, you give us a letter of intent from Goldman Sachs. But Goldman Sachs says, but what's the tariff? So some of those due diligence were conducted, but the market enabling institutions were not there. 1, 2. And some of these people, of course, Nigerians, come with bogus claims that they have the financing, and probably they have moved their finance to other sectors, and they can't really deliver on time.
Let me move to something that some people think that it really does have some political undertone, and you could correct us if we're wrong on that one. Metering. There's been several directives from the federal government about provide meters to consumers. Many of them have been flouted. There are many who have applied for meters for 2 years now, they haven't gotten it. Many have paid for those meters at the moment, they don't have it. The manufacturing companies in this country that have got meters, they still have it in their stores. What's going on?
Let me start with the manufacturers. I hear claims about nobody's patronizing. It's not true, and I would like MOMAs or any of the meter people to call in. NEC has done the best thing nobody has done in this country by giving the local content. Say, you know what, Today, we don't approve importation of meter at all. You must first show us two things. You must bring a paper from a disco saying, we are contracting you and there's no local quantity to meet that supply before we issue import. So all these local manufacturers are being patronized. Now the question is this, they are saying they are not being patronized enough. There are some discos like Ikeja, say they want smart meter. And this is the issue here. As a regulator, our job is to protect revenue and protect service supply. So some discos are saying that these meters are cloned, easy to be bypassed. Just
the meters that the manufacturers had here are cloned.
The consumers clone them easily. They want to migrate. For example, ECO says we want to migrate full to smart meter for two reasons. It helps the consumer to two-way communication. They can know what the meter, what they're consuming. It helps us to monitor the meter, how it's been tampered or not. So clearly, local consumers, manufacturers are being patronized, but the other allegation is that some discos are not patronizing enough. They are still trying to negotiate for meters abroad. And what we have told them is, if you want to go to smart meter, give us the application. Tell us the functions that are not available in local meters and what evidence that those meters are being corrupted. And people have gone on the field. They have seen quite some significant element of tampering, cloning, and bypass. That's one. Two, the issue of people who have paid for meter. Let's step back. In 2010, when I took this job, the metering gap was 60 to 70%. David who is late now, led the committee we appointed to go to the country and establish that we have a legacy of about 60% of consumers are not metered. What that means is that, yes, the discourse may not have made much haste in metering, but essentially it can close that gap in the next 2-3 years or 1 year. Now, they have a 5-year commitment to BPE to meter everybody. What we did was, first, in 2011, government, when it was under PSN, federal government gave 2.9 billion for metering. Then when we asked for the report, what we got under government was that, well, we use it for this, we used to do that, and we reported to the Ministry of Power. It wasn't our money, it was federal government money. Nothing happened. In 2011, before we privatized, we gave our instruction. So, okay, cap me, customers can pay. And customers were paying. Ikeja was doing well then, and the ECO slightly. But the problem was this. First, some customers didn't have confidence in the existing disco then because of their corruption and issues. Two, some of the money paid were not being supplied on time. So after 6 months, we discovered that didn't work. And we now have come forward with a new policy and say, we are now considering a new proposition saying, since the incentive, it looks like the discos are more incentive to estimate than meter, why don't we cap estimation? What that means is hit an incentive. Instead of, we cannot say everybody who doesn't have a meter and is on one flat should not pay more than 200 units. Okay. Therefore, if you're losing revenue, you will be more interested in metering. But let me conclude on meter by saying that there are 3 legacy problems this sector has to solve very carefully. One is gas supply, it's legacy. We are owing money, we don't have gas. 2 is metering. What that means, in every traditional market, these legacy problems take time because you are dealing with a backlog created by an inefficient system that you are not transiting. So why not making case for discos? When people tell me, ask them to meter in the next 2 days, how will you do that? You're going to raise the finance, you're going to do logistics and all that. So there'll be some gap. The question now is, are they doing enough? I don't think so. It's not going to force them. Yes, the magic is not to carry the can around, it's to hit at their bottom line. If you don't meter, then you have to cap the revenue.